The forest is always like an old good friend that I know. For me, it feels like I'm a pupil in the largest school in the world. All the subjects are here, and I'm learning things like form, shape, philosophy, very much psychology and self-knowledge. I have had so much climate anxiety, actually since I was a little child. I was just like a little naive, romantic, animal-loving girl. But I was schooled and educated into that this was naive and childish, and I should grow out of this and start to look at interhuman relationships as the path to happiness. And I think this brought on me a depression when I was young. I was forced into something that was too narrow. It was already decided for me, the dreams. It had to do with relationships, romantic relationships, maybe a house, maybe travels, maybe fulfilling relationships on It's just so many woodpeckers. Sorry, I'm distracted. Yeah. And then in Sweden, at least, it's so nice because if you're depressed, one of the recipes is they tell you, walk the forests. So I started to walk the forests, and in my paths I found little funny sticks because they lie everywhere. And for me it was explosively nice to be alone, left out in the woods, and without any teacher or therapist or anybody telling me what to do, when to do it, and why to do it. I just picked up things, and I still do it after 25 years. They said, go out in the forest and then you come back, and I went out to the forest and I just didn't return. So the question is if I ever got well. But it doesn't matter because I feel well.
Why do you call your notebooks Facebook?
Oh, well, isn't Facebook something like a half diary where you write down events and friends with pictures? So it's the same. I just don't smear the world with it. I keep it to myself or to anyone who is just actually here. And I remember much more of what happened if I paint a little bit, if I let the thought go out in the hand. And I think Facebook is like a story telling about your life somehow, what happens. So this is it. But I own this myself. I didn't give the rights away of my pictures and my ideas. And someone asked me once, do you have Facebook? And I thought, no, I don't. Let's have one. Now I can say, yeah, I have Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Yes, I'm on my Facebook every day.
I just love your art. But I guess we're here today to talk about something else too.
Yeah.
Could we start maybe with a little bit of history? Like the history of this forest?
Yeah. Well, my grandfather listened to all the advices from forest authorities. So he killed all leaf trees. He planted the fields that we grew food on with spruce everywhere. And my mother's generation has been able to gain from this and profit from this on a monetary, economically manner. So she clear-cutted and planted again and thinned the forest. And now comes the bill. To my generation and to the younger ones, it's very fragile to insects attack. So here the forest has been attacked by bark beetles, and they're slowly killing all the big spruce. The forest is starting to weaken and become very fragile because of the monoculture. I could hear big spruces, one after one, dying. I could hear it. It was like pop, pop, pop. And everything turned green. It was raining needles over me. And it was very dry. And I was so scared. It felt like everything's gonna burn. Everything I love dies. They were supposed to live long after I have died, and they all started to die before me. And then I started to talk with biologists, and they said, trees are dying, not the forest. This is the way of the forest showing it wants to live. It creates a lot of dead wood where new species can come. And it was like the poet in me couldn't really accept it. The nature scientist person in me accepted it, and I could see directly other species coming. But the poet in me wasn't satisfied. It was happening too fast. So I cried all the time, but I started to just move around leaf trees that I found in weird places like ditches or where electricity wires go, where they're anyway not going to live. And I started to just move them.
Oj, ja, den skulle jag djupt.
Är det en björn här?
Det är ett körsbär.
Ett körsbär, ja vad
Jag
fint.
tänker det är bra jord.
Ja, ja.
After my 100th planted or replanted tree, I had stopped crying because I was so tired physically. And after my 300 trees, I discovered that the squirrel was following me, like he was doing some kind of research of a fool trying to rescue something that is unrescuable. And at my 800th tree, I started to feel some kind of strength and hope. And I was eager to wake up in the morning because they all started to live and wanted to live, and it was really nice. I'm actually saving something. In this time where all the science and the research is showing that it's so much worse than we thought, this has actually become much better than I thought and than I expected. Of all these almost 2,200 trees now, I've counted 17 that died. So I've made something really good with without having a system. We can go out and measure with our eyes, with our logic, with our idea of knowledge. We could also, I would love that it would come some people who have studied this with empiric data. It would be really great to see, what have I done? Is it good or not?
Yes, so what happened here is that we got a major invasion of bark beetles and they just killed all the trees here.
Yeah.
And then we replaced those trees with this that you see now. So you have linden and rowans and alder and every ash, every even wild apple,
Wild apple, yeah.
hazel. And we don't really know what's happening here now.
I mean, I think the forest is always a process, and we are always in the middle of a process. But what's interesting here, I think, is really interesting that here you also have, as you have left the dead wood, the dead trees. In most forests, they are removed to generate income and so on. And then, more or less, the result of the disturbance will disappear. I mean, the disturbance produce substrate for the further process. But if we remove this, then it's not really like a full-scale function in this disturbance anymore.
I have a question, because one disturbance is these bark beetles, but then if we just left it, there would be a natural process with maybe rowan, birch, aspen, but now we added another disturbance, me and Johannes.
Yeah.
We actively
added
planted.
ourselves as a disturbance.
So it's not actually a natural process here anymore either. What do you think about this disturbance?
I think you have introduced species that might need some additional years to come here, like the linden, for example. It's not always the goal to reduce human impact. It's a matter of what we do. I mean,
That's interesting.
we need this kind of experiment. And you are not like bringing exotic species
No.
and so here.
No.
If you would do that, then I would be much more skeptical. A lot of foresters are looking for new tree species. What other species could we introduce here to handle this situation? And I think that is really the most dangerous way to go. Maybe this is not your like most advanced
But it's very good.
artistic. Yeah, yeah,
So
Or
let's
this
go
way.
that way.
yeah.
Okay, see you guys.
See?
Yeah, okay, see you. This one was,
It was as high as me, and you were a bit negative, and you said this
tad
is...
higher than this one.
Yeah. And you said it's not going to grow, Mia, it's difficult.
2.5 years ago.
Yeah. The same bark beetle disaster happened also to the landowner next to us. And he answered the conventional way, and we're going to go there and look. And I think you don't have to be a biologist or ecologist to see that it's quite a different nature.
When we are standing here, we can really feel the difference. I mean, the whole microclimate is different. Compared to your forest, this is more or less only one ecological niche. There are no trees, there are very little shelter wood. We have completely different vegetation now. We have really pioneer vegetation, like grass and herbs. Your forest is still a forest. As you have like a visiting center here, people might come here for your art, but maybe they leave with the forest.
I felt many times like a desperation, a panic. What are we going to do? This problem is so much bigger than I can handle. But can you abandon someone who helped you when you were down and broken? Now this is broken, and I'm not anymore. And I think in so many positions that we are put to in education forms or different professions, or especially in the ownership of forests, where there is a story already told and we have to follow the narrative and we can't be kind. It's awful for us. I think it's one of the reasons why so many of us are depressed, because we don't get space and a place and a job where we can actually be kind. I think it's one of the nice things with humans. We're really kind if we get the chance.
Thank you so much for watching this film. My name is Matthias, and I'm the director of the film and the founder of Campfire Stories. Campfire Stories is a community-supported project. That means that the only way we can keep making films is through the support from the people who watch the films. So please consider joining us as a Patreon supporter. Thank you so much.